in your practice to maximize your growth through basically this simple Excel tool that helps you find what is an opportunity, where can you focus your time, and where are you going to get the bang for your buck? So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited for everyone to learn, to see, and really take what you do and basically try to copy it because it works. So thank you for joining.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So for those of you that haven't seen or haven't dove into the opportunity analysis, what this is, it's essentially taking your reporting, your PPS report, some of your book of business reports, and dialing it down to say, where are you today versus what's possible? What are some of the average or above average advisors doing? So that as you think about where to put your energy, you can find the right avenues that you should be traveling down. And this is something that Jen and her team have done in spades. And honestly, you're one of the advisors that asks us for it most often because you use it. And I've started doing this with more and more of our advisors, and boy, does it really get the bang for your buck. So, my first question to you would be, how do you use the opportunity analysis in your practice?
Okay. So the opportunity analysis, as you said, touches on the different optics of your practice, which can, when you look at it, look a little bit overwhelming. Are you going to attack managed accounts, SPS, life insurance, plan fees, new client acquisition? Are you going to attack all these areas at once and look at those opportunities that John has put there? If you make these small changes, what it can do to grow your GDC. I do not look at them all at once. I try to pick out one or two to focus on during the team meeting. And so, for example, this last Monday, we were talking about protection planning. What does the opportunity analysis say with regards to our protection planning optics? And we bring up the numbers in the opportunity analysis from the prior year, for example, the end of 2021. And then when we do our business planning, the end of 2022 on the team call, I share that growth with the team. Where are we then? Where are we now based on the opportunity analysis? And where are we looking forward, moving forward on that? So, for example, when we just look at growth in the life insurance area, we do the same thing in the growth from one point to another point. We do the same thing with plan fees and with managed accounts, and then relate that, of course, back to our business plan. So I use it. I use the entire analysis almost weekly. I reference it when the team has a win, like say somebody sells a policy or sells upgrades a plan fee to our menu of services. I'll reference the opportunity analysis and say, oh, our average plan fee, is $1,400, for example, on our average plan fees. And now that you've charged $2,000 for this plan, that's going to touch our opportunity analysis. Remember what that does to the overall potential increase in GDC under that plan optic. So I actually reference the opportunity analysis, reference back to it, and show if they continue to do that, what does that do over the next 26 period moving GDC? So not just like, oh, great, we did it, because we get excited about something and then we can have a natural ability to fall back into our old habits. So continuing to put it in front of them and say, oh, look at what we did if we continue to do it, where we're going to be in the 26 period moving average. So I know that was long-winded. I apologize.
No, I think what you touched on there was a little bit of genius, which is, hey, we got a little win, but remember, our goal is long-term, and continuing to reframe within that, I think is a really brilliant way, because what I see people do is they do, a quick, maybe it's a campaign to say, all right, let's raise protection. And then what next? And you get so distracted by the, tyranny of the urgent, you forget what we're doing long term. That's a brilliant piece of insight to keep coming back to that.
Yes.
How do you prioritize based on what's on there? There's a lot of info. I've provided this to a lot of advisors, and a lot of it can be overwhelming and almost paralyzing with the amount of info. And, you look at this the first time, it says, 300,000, 400,000 of potential revenue. How do you prioritize and break it down so your team can actually execute on it rather than basically saying, gosh, there's so much to start, I don't know how to juggle it?
Right. So I don't know how the teams are designed on this call, but if you have somebody, for example, in your practice that specializes in protection planning, maybe you have that person or person's focus on that optic. And then, for example, if you have somebody that is writing your financial plans or sending that menu of services out, have that person refresh your menu of services and focus on increasing those plan fees, maybe noting them in the agenda. Your plan fee was this last year, so whoever's holding the call knows this plan fee, we're going to increase by a certain percentage on the next call. There's no reason a plan fee should stay the same every year. So those little changes over time make a huge difference. So if you've ever read the book by Gina Wickman that John recommended to us a few years back, Traction, giving the staff or your team, there you go, a few rocks to move at a time. If that even is too much, you can look at it and say, what's going to give us the biggest increase in GDC, and focus on that. You could literally say, if this is overwhelming, we're just going to focus on increasing plan fees for the next quarter. And then we're going to focus on, and after a period of time, it usually becomes a habit. But really, I mean, we kind of really touch on all of them. We look at when we're doing an agenda or financial planning for clients, we should be touching on everything on this opportunity analysis for the client. I think the protection planning piece has been a big gap in my practice. And since we started working with John and educating the team and educating me, becoming more educated, our GDC on life insurance has gone up in the 26th period, moving from 140 to 195,000 in that period. What's happened is, and this is another thing to come back to the team and tap them and say, this is a big win. You're doing 9 circles with all these new clients or existing clients. You're funding these big VULs and funding the 9 circles. Well, now we're in year 2. And guess what we're doing this quarter? We're funding these policies with big lump sums into VULs, and that feeds that life insurance GDC. And they want to do it. These high value clients are excited to fund it. And, versus a smaller policy. So just some insight there. I think what to focus on is driven by what education level your staff has on those different areas, and what the more they know, the more they're going to see.
That's a great point. And again, I think you touched on something that a lot of advisors miss, which you said, hey, you shouldn't go year over year without raising your fee. Again, it's something a lot of advisors haven't done. But if you go into any other industry and you haven't gotten a raise in 3, 4, 5 years, you're looking for another employer, which as advisors, we just don't do that. So as you look at the analysis, you've used it a ton. What portion do you think, and this might be a little crossover from the last question, but what do you think is most beneficial to you about the opportunity analysis?
As the advisor, I mean, motivating the team is one. They can actually see it in easy to understand format. Hey, look what you did starting in 2021. Look what's happened to the GDC. And I actually use some of these optics when bonusing the team. So that's been a valuable thing. They can see this. They can see, oh, here's the opportunity analysis. This area has gone up by this amount. We have this much more in managed assets. Even though the market's down, our managed asset value has stayed the same because we keep moving money over to manage. But the number one thing I think for the advisor is the increase in value of your franchise, your sellable asset, a big part of your net worth as a financial advisor. All that energy that you're putting in is building this asset. Our value of our practice since working with John has gone up over $2 million in the last 2.5 years from when we started, because these different optics that we've added to it. So I think that is the number one. If you're going to prioritize or list them out, that would be the number one most valuable piece to me.
That's phenomenal and great insight again, because that's what you're building, right? That is, as you said, your net worth. So we run these for anyone that we work with when we start working with them. But how often do you rerun it to get another handle on where the opportunities are?
I like it quarterly. So I do request it quarterly. The year end is always wonderful too. And we know with the lovely pause, getting those actual numbers from home office can be a little bit of a delay. So like for the end of December, sometimes I get them from you maybe late January. So we have all those figures. So I request them at the end of the quarter. But I think minimally the end of the year, the team, I like to see at the end of the quarter and use it for the team bonuses, for their quarterly bonuses.
So if you don't mind me asking, kind of how do you play in the opportunity analysis and the growth into those team bonuses? What does that look like for you? Because I know that's a big question for a lot of advisors, is how do we motivate and energize our team to be dialed into one growth point? And you're doing it.
Sure.
How do you put it together?
So you can change that structure every year. The first year we started, we saw the big opportunity in moving existing assets to managed accounts. So our goal was to move over assets on a monthly and a quarterly basis to managed accounts. And if we hit those levels, that would be one of their bonus components. And we still have that figure that our goal is to move over on a quarterly basis a certain amount of assets to managed accounts of existing accounts. And then the other one is how many policies are we selling per month? So I don't think there is really no reason why we shouldn't sell at least 2 insurance policies a month between 3 advisors. I mean, you just have to bring it up, really. You just have to bring it up. It's amazing. Bring it up in every meeting. There's something there from a protection planning perspective. Long-term care, disability, life, term, looking at group benefits. Can we beat their group benefits? Or our recent thing is that insurance conference in Newport Beach, the policies sold 10 years ago, the new policies, their internal cost of insurance is significantly less. In some cases, almost 50% less than those old policies. We just 1035-2 last Monday to the new policies and added ASRs, and the internal cost was less by 50%. On those.
Wow.
So tons of opportunities, just bringing them up, educating the team. The more you know, the more you see.
and either intentionally or not, what you tapped into is exactly how you motivate other advisors on your team. You've got to have 2 or 3 crystal clear goals. And based on a study done by Raymond James, your revenue is going to be 1 to 1.5 times greater if you can get the team focused on just a couple things.
Yes.
So I know that for today you had kind of some capped time. I don't know if you're still available. I could ask a couple, but if you have to drop, please just let us know when, because we want to be certainly conscious of that. But as you use this and leverage it with your team, do you use it in one-on-ones, or how is it just the team meetings? How do you review it with them to just make sure everyone is on the same page and not just Jen is up here talking about it?
Absolutely. So we have a team meeting every Monday, and attached to the team meeting is the opportunity analysis, along with our VTO, Vision Traction Organizer, from Gino Wickman's book. So it concisely shows what our overall goal is, the 3-year, the 5-year, the 10-year, for those numbers. So what I do on the team call to continue to motivate the team, to answer your question, is we look at last week and talk about wins. What were the wins last week? We had a net flow, $1 million come in Friday. We sold 2 policies. We upgraded 2 plan fees, and we got a big client referral that's booked. So all of those are items that are on the opportunity analysis, and that we touched on every single thing in that on the opportunity. So I circle it back to the attached and explain that and call them wins for the staff, and call out, hey, Sean did this, Todd did this, call out the names on the call, and then also do a team share of anybody else have wins that they want to share that touched our opportunity analysis and our VTO. So just keeping it in the front of their mind every single week, because it's so easy to fall back into let's review the agenda, let's increase our BA, let's get our fee. Okay, we're done, keep it dynamic for the client so they see the value add for working with us. But that's kind of how I keep them motivated.
So that is, again, that's all phenomenal insights, because it seems like for you probably now it's rinse repeat, but those little things that you do are game changing for a lot of advisors.
Yes.
One of the things to go back to where some of your focus is and where you've put in some energy to increase the value of your practice so much, one of the things you talked about was raising those financial planning fees. How do you approach that in an environment where sometimes people are, afraid to have that conversation, especially as inflation and things go up? What's been working for you on those?
So, we share before they come in for their meeting or have their account review, we add our menu of services to the agenda. So the client is aware of what they're getting. And what I've learned by that is that don't assume that the client wants to stay in the same category. Talk about where they are and say, gosh, you've done a great job in building that 401k, developing a legacy plan for your kids. Look at this last area in advanced planning. Is there anything here that you find interesting or relevant to your situation? We had somebody move up their plan fee because they just opened another office in Sarasota for their business. So their plan fee went up because they need and they want those additional services. So don't assume that they're just going to stay in the same category. Go back to the menu. The client's going to see this is your fee range for basic advice. This is your fee range for advanced advice, and work from the menu. You're a professional. You deserve to get paid. I still think we're undercharging and getting up to that $2,000 to $2,500 average fee per case is, that's what we're working towards. When somebody's at $1,500 to tack on another grand, sometimes can be a little bit of a hurdle. But a lot of times they move right up the grid there. The other way we approach it is just attaching the CAF agreement where the fee comes out of the non-qualified account if you have that opportunity. So we'll just add it on there. And then, upselling it to the client. Look, we're giving you the advice. The putting your clients first piece, we also attach for planning clients because it shows everything that we provide advice on that fiduciary layer. So you can see they have $1 million 401k. We're providing you advice on that. And these 5 other things, your average cost per thousand is significantly 1% or less than 1% below industry average. So remind them what they're getting for working, give them that value add conversation. Generally, they have no trouble going up. I have not had any pushback on it.
Again, I think that's such a great way to do it, is to just give them the option. You kind of made the joke earlier that, the way that John and I interact, it's like, John and like mini John. And it's one of those things where if you sat us outside of 2 hotels, right, and there was the Marriott on one side and the Ritz-Carlton on the other, they do the same thing, right? You get a bed, you get a bathroom, you get a roof over your head. I'll take the Marriott, but John's going to pay for the Ritz. And it's all about what happens when you walk through that door. And even though they do the same thing, people want some of those extra services, some of that extra benefits. You give them the choice to choose, people will choose. I have seen people upgrade because they didn't know there was a higher level. And it's Absolutely. Like, oh, I want to be that. It's the same thing as why people, I had friends that used to take these long flights at the end of the year because they needed to get to the next status level of Delta. And they were willing to pay for those flights. So it absolutely makes sense.
Absolutely. Same on the insurance point, like just having that conversation. I'm surprised. I presented something to a client last week and I was surprised that she decided to do it. I presented it because I didn't know. I put it on the agenda to do my value add and she bought the policy. So you just don't know unless you ask, and you want to make them feel like they can't live without you. If they have to continue to work with you on that agenda, you continue to tell their individual story. You know what their next milestone is, whether it's retirement, funding the grandbaby's education. That's what they talked about last time. Hey, I remember we talked about that in the last call. How is that going for you? And what about, let's bring up that task control triangle and how's that going to impact you? Just continue to tell that story for that person and make it, customized as much as you can.
Right on. I mean, the tax control triangle is working like crazy right now because a lot of people are worried about it. I know, and I don't think I've shared this with you, but that idea of protection. I used to have an advisor team where they would talk through and simply say, Jen, let's run a fire drill. If you weren't here tomorrow, what would you want to have happen for your family to make sure that, their wishes and what you want to do is happen? And you walk them through a conversation, you add it up, and you say, all right, well, to get this done, it's going to cost $2 million. How much do you have? Usually it's like 500, 750, whatever a good round number that someone told them 10 years ago would be. And you just ask, all right, well, then what's not going to happen? If you need 2 million to get this done, you have 500,000, what's going to come off the list? And it's just allowing them to think through that process of what do I want? What do I have? How do I fill that gap? And it's not even a sale at that point. It's just, all right, let me connect the dots for you.
Absolutely. It's financial planning, and that's what we do. And that's what we do well. And the clients want to see the results in the plan. They want you to refresh their plan. You do protection planning in the first year. You should do it at least every other year and add protection, show them their refreshed protection planning analysis. But I have to jump off for another call, and I really appreciate the invitation, and happy to answer any questions. If anybody wants to email me or, schedule a separate call, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know it's incredibly valuable and getting more valuable every single day you execute on this. So we'll let you hop. I'll do some closing comments, but thank you so much, Jen. It was great getting a chance to talk with you.
Thank you. Thank you, Meredith, and everybody as well. Have a lovely day.
All right. We'll see ya. So as Jen drops, I'll close up with a couple of final comments. Number one, as she mentioned, that protection and advice to raise your financial planning fees, great tips. One of the best things about helping people with protection is as they progress in their financial, I guess you'd call it career, there are going to be things that fall off. For example, if I was covering a mortgage for the house that I'm in now, in 20 years, I won't have that. So I can drop my insurance and then reallocate those premiums to saving for retirement. So as you have those conversations, not only can you help the client bump up their protection, but as they get to the point where they don't need it, you can lower the protection to meet their financial goals, but then reallocate those assets. It's a huge win. So to close up, because I know we've only got 4 minutes, number one, if you're not using your opportunity analysis frequently or reviewing it, as Jen said, quarterly, that is a great place to be looking to say, all right, what's next? The goal of a consultant is eventually we get to the point where you are so on top of your game, you may not need us. The opportunity analysis is the game plan. That's the roadmap to say, all right, we've done phenomenal here. What's next? And that allows you to prioritize and pick away, chip away at the opportunities that exist, grow your business, grow the value of your firm. And it's something that we can run on a quarterly basis to center ourselves on what the priorities we want to be working on are. So I know we got a handful of folks on here. What I want to do is I'll open it. If anybody has any questions, you can type it into the chat. Otherwise, you've got my email, you've got John's, you've got, if you look up Jen's online, shoot us a note. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. But for now, I'll open it up to see if anybody has any questions right at this moment. Well, I won't push it any further. So what I'll do is I will say thank you for your attention. Thank you for your time. Stay tuned. We're doing these ongoing with different advisors, different topics, different best practices from some of the folks that are implementing and doing it each and every day. So let us know if there's anything you need in between now and then. But until next time, hey, you guys stay extraordinary, stay high power, and let us know where we can help. We'll talk to y'all soon.